Hello, so you know how anime is like very high regarded for having really pretty animations, like it's either whether it's water or like objects or characters or like some random action like flipping a page in a book. It's always like well regarded in high budget anime because it's so satisfying. So recently I was scrolling through YouTube before bed and I came across a video compilation of one of those like food scenes from anime where they make food and it's really satisfying. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's this. I know they're really satisfying, right? Like they're so like soothing to the brain. And if you ever watched any anime movie or whatever, you've probably seen something like this. But if you haven't, I'll put like a description. If this is the first time you're hearing about this, I'll put a link in the description so you can like watch this stuff. Trust me, your brain needs that. Anyway, why am I talking about food? It's because today I'm going to attempt to draw some food. But first of all, some background info. I may look like a hoodie wearing cold weather gremlin, which I am kind of, but I'm actually from Sri Lanka, which is, if you didn't know, a teeny tiny country in the tropics. We're chilling right next to India. And if you ever ask anybody about Sri Lanka, they'll probably mention the food in the first sentence because our food is dope as fuck. And I thought of doing them a little bit of justice and actually having a little bit of fun because I've not painted food before. And just, attempt to paint some of my favorite food from Sri Lanka. That out of the way. Hello, it's voiceover time. So for this video, I wanted to start off by like kind of warming up with drawing a kitchen and then moving on to two of my favorite dishes, or rather two of the dishes that you probably will encounter if you come to Sri Lanka. And I wanted to keep the whole anime dreamy food vibe going on, so I decided to practice on this kitchen countertop top surface because it is a lot more reflective than most other cooking utensils used in Sri Lanka, because a lot of our stuff is natural, like wooden things, but the rice cooker is the one technological probably thing that a lot of households share across the board in Sri Lanka. So the challenge here was the reflective surfaces for one thing. For the other thing, it was the water and the really curvy surfaces, because I can't draw stable lines to save my life. So this was a main issue while drawing this piece, but it took a while. But I think I managed to do a faithful regression of both the reflections and the water droplets and things that kind of like bounce light off of everything, like the kitchen countertop and the colors to other silverware. And I initially didn't like the composition of this, but I went ahead with it anyway because this was literally referenced from a picture of my countertop in my house, and I just took a picture and looked at it while I was drawing. So I did have a little bit of trouble trying to figure out what the reflections were, because drawing from actual references is much harder than drawing from pictures that I find on Pinterest. I find because Pinterest pictures are very edited and geared towards having very perfect lighting, but when you just take a photo of your house, it's very difficult to actually identify things or differentiate one thing from the other. So I decided to add a bunch of other things just to please the composition a little bit more. I tried to go in with a little bit more challenging material and the stuff you would find on a kitchen counter, like a bit like soaked polythene, because things come in polythene and then you take them out and there's water on the counter, so it gets soaked. I don't know why I'm explaining the logic of soaked polythene to you, but I did this mainly to add kind of like detail and pleasingness to the composition, pleasingness, anyway, that's not a word, to the composition. but I really enjoyed it. I tried to adjust the lighting with my curves. I don't use that a lot in Clip Studio, but I decided to do that so I could make the shadows more faithful and stylistic rather than just all over the place in fantasy like what I normally do. I think the lighting also really worked because I exaggerated a little bit at the end. And now I'm moving on to drawing rice and curry, which is one of the main things in Sri Lanka. If you ever come here, you get served this basically. You can do this in a billion ways, but I referenced this off of Pinterest, and I think I included this picture in the beginning of the video. This is mainly just a number of popular things you eat rice with. So the challenge here was getting the accurate colors and once again the lighting, which in this case was a little bit easier because it was a top-down shot. I opted for going for top-down shots for both this and the dish that's coming up next. I wanted to convey what they were, and I decided that the top-down view would be much more clearer than if I were to draw them at an angle or like a 3/4 of an angle. So my thinking here was basically that you could see the food clearly, and that you could also not have the light interfere with the colors too much, because the white of the general the general area this photo was taken in would have affected it if I were to try to draw this in like a different angle essentially. And to talk about the food and the shading of them, it's mostly just I tried to stick to the reference I had as faithfully as I could, but I also applied a little bit of stylization to them so they would actually look like they belong in the drawing rather than like just flat things. I tried to add depth with the shadow, but I messed up, so I tried to adjust it a lot. And I think I finished it by actually kind of fixing what I messed up initially, and it ended up looking very anime and dreamy than it would actually in real life. Kottu is one of my favorite dishes, so I decided to go for it last, and I wanted to recreate this faithfully. If you don't know what this is, it's a basically, I don't know how to describe this food. It's like a clump of everything that you enjoy about food put together, and then you can just eat it. Literally, that's how you describe kottu to people. Try it, I guess. I don't know what else to say. But for this one, I also opted for the top-down view, and I also opted for going for a more simplistic background because I wanted to highlight the colors a bit a lot, because the pan it's cooked in is black and it's very oily, so there's a lot of shine to random parts of the food, and as well as the colors of the food look very punchy when you put it in a black background, and it also looks quite faithful to what it actually is. So that's what I decided to do. With that, guys, we're pretty much done with the speed painting portion of the video, and that brings us to our conclusion. So this was really fun to do. I didn't have this idea until like last week. This was very random because I was scrolling through YouTube. But let me know if you want to see more of these stuff. It might take a little longer to edit, but I promise I will come back soon and provide more content and draw stuff, because drawing is fun. I just absolutely adore doing it. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.